before from Ann Arbor School. And as soon as he found out she was leaving, he got another counselor from Ann Arbor School. So it was easy to fill it.
Nice. All right, let's call this meeting to order. The time is 5:45 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Bailey. Ms. Dean is going to be absent. Mrs. Johnson. Here. Mrs. Martin. Here. Ms. Miller. Here. Mr. Osowski. Here. Chair is here. Ms. Jesuik. Here. All right, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Whew. Let me take a deep breath. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will move on to President's remarks. I will say, as per usual, please place all cell phones on silent. I'm watching you. I do have some additional remarks, but I will save them for board communication because they're just around fundraisers and Wayne County Association stuff. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the February 10th, 2025 regular meeting as presented? So moved. Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion carries. Call to the audience. Public participation regarding agenda items. All right. Hearing none, we will move on to, I'm excited about this. Presentations. Our first presentation is Elementary STEAM Project-Based Learning. Jill Birch, Principal, and Angela. Thank you. I'm good. I wasn't even going to try that. Welcome.
Okay, as you know, I'm Jill Birch, the principal of Redford Elementary, and this is my STEAM teacher, Angela Mashalkalpa. We're excited to share with you about this fantastic opportunity. Both Beach Elementary and Hilbert Elementary were afforded through a food service grant. Mr. Witt and Angela Davis had introduced us to the idea of utilizing hydroponics to grow produce for our cafeterias. And fortunately, Ms. Nicola and I are blessed with two very enthusiastic STEAM teachers who wanted to take part in this. So both Rebecca Leadham and Angela here have embraced this wonderful project and together have collaborated to create this presentation for you this evening. So I am going to leave it to the expert.
Thank you. Sure thing. So as the first slide shows, I am here to answer what is growing in Redford Union. I passed around a little visual aid. Being a teacher never stops, and I can explain some of the parts of that visual aid in a moment. So to answer the question of what is growing in South Redford, it is something called hydroponics. And so
Redford Union.
Sorry.
We plucked her out of South Redford, so.
Miss Birch was very nice to let me take.
There might be something else going in South Redford.
Miss Birch was very nice to let me take an emergency leave to help my family, and so I just got off of a plane, so my brain's a little frazzled. But yes, Redford Union, we're very proud to have this growing in Redford Union, and the answer to that is hydroponics. A little bit of nerd background. Hydro, of course, means water, and ponics means something of the term to labor. And so the water is doing the work of growing our food. And there's a very short video explaining a little bit more about what is hydroponics.
Emu.
Well, we do have some student
It's like a middle school dance, except for Mr. Norton. All the girls over there. All the boys over there.
Well, how about this? While the technical difficulties are working, as you saw getting passed around, this is an example of what we've been growing. This is a romaine lettuce plant, and if you got to see in the little tin, this is mocked up, there's this kind of grayish green matter. That is something called rock wool, and that is what we place the seeds in order for them to grow. And the roots are able to come out and get the nutrients that we have provided for them. So the only reason I want to take the time to make sure the sound works is that later in the presentation we have a couple student videos sharing their thoughts, and this video we can give or take, but I would love to have you have a chance to hear what the students have to say about hydroponics. Yay!
So, what is hydroponics? Growing plants in water without soil. Wait, back up. In nature, the soil a plant grows in serves two purposes. One, it anchors the plant from above-ground hazards. Two, to provide the plant with nutrients it needs to keep growing. With hydroponics, these two purposes are handed off. The plant is supported by a net pot, which allows the roots to grow through into a nutrient-rich solution below. Hydroponics was first used as far back as 600 BC in the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the world. By eliminating soil and housing the roots directly in water, the plants grown hydroponically flourish. This was achieved because plants grown hydroponically could absorb nutrients from water much more efficiently than plants grown in soil, resulting in faster growth and greater harvests.
Who knew?
Real MVP right now, Ms. Crenshaw. So the hydroponics system that we have been able to use through the grant is from the company Fork Farms, and this is part of their information setup, talking about how Fork Farms and hydroponics connects to STEM, or in our case STEAM education. You can of course read the little blurb on your own. And so the choices of produce that we can grow through Fork Farms is various varieties of lettuce, not just romaine. We could grow herbs if we wish, or mini tomatoes and cucumbers. So this is a picture I took of some of our students at Hilbert Elementary School. I actually copied our music teacher, who has some 3rd graders come in to help him set up his instruments. And so I invited current 6th graders to come in with preparing the hydroponics, get them really involved in the system. And so there you can see they are preparing the rock wool that the plants would be growing in. They put basically just fresh water in so that it's nice and moist for the seeds. That is a picture of a newly transplanted sprout, so you can see how tiny they obviously start. And the rock wool is placed in those cylinders, and just like on my little demo here, as it grows, the roots will go behind the cylinder to where the water is flowing for it to collect the nutrients and grow.
That was 2 weeks ago, right?
I can maybe check on my phone, but
About
it's
2 weeks ago
this.
that those pictures were taken.
Yeah,
sprouting
the
started.
cycle is a pretty quick. Actually, yeah, it was mid January.
It's 28 days, right?
Yeah, the cycle of from seed to harvest, which these plants are a little too little for harvest yet, is roughly 28 days. So about a month. Here we have the students again checking and adding nutrients to the water. So just like the video said, soil normally provides the plants with nutrients, and so we have to put that into the water that we're giving the plants. I tell the students it's kind of like when you put flavor packets in a water bottle. We're doing that for the plants to help them grow. Just a couple more pictures of them testing. I have a binder for them to record the results of the nutrients, so getting that practice as well. This picture is from a lesson that's provided by Fork Farms. Since the hydroponics plants need a specific pH of water in order to grow, they have a lesson that has the students explore the different types of pH. So you can go to the next slide. You've got a few more pictures. And so what I did is I slightly edited the lesson to where I had 5 samples of clear liquid. I had Sprite, vinegar, tap water, the hydroponics water, and alkaline water. And of course, besides maybe the Sprite and the vinegar that have a distinct smell, none of the liquids seeming very different from each other. But then the students are able to put in a pH detecting solution that changed the colors. And you can see in kind of the top right of that picture, you get a rainbow of different colors that tells the students what is the pH. So again, a little modified, but the base lesson was from the hydroponics lessons, and here's more just pictures of how it's growing. These sets of pictures are particularly from Beach Elementary School, so not a competition, but a little jealous how well your plants are growing out there.
Somebody has a green thumb.
They will be ready to harvest basically once we no longer see the whites of the wall. Once it's entirely green, that's a way to know that the plants are ready to be harvested. They've grown big enough to be consumed. And so here we're getting into the student testimonials. You can read some of the written testimonials at your own choosing, but I would love to hear the students. So I think if you...
Can you click on Chase, the boy?
Yeah, click on the video and that'll show... Yeah. I'm used to where like Google Slides where you're just able to press and it shows the video. Let me grab my phone in case I need to give you permission, Ms. Crenshaw.
We're testing her technology skills. Chops over there.
Well, you are really showing off Team Isabindi with that bravery. You're a brave soul taking on that challenge. Okay, let me share.
Okay.
And
Sophia has something to say as well.
yep. And then one thing that I just found very funny until I added their names, they are not siblings at all. They just have similar names.
That's funny.
All right, so I just gave permission.
So what I think about the hydroponic system is, it's like I love how and I love how it grows because of the like hydro part, like the water, and then how it works because like it's cool. And I'm actually very surprised how bright they can get the light. And I love how it's like it's almost brighter than the sun. That's how I feel it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love these kids.
Love it, love it, love it.
All right, and this video, as you can see, was from Beach. So this is one of Miss Leadham's students. I think I'm able... I may not be able to give permission for that one, unfortunately. But I believe she goes into a little bit more of the process of everything that we've explained. How first we prepare the rock wool, then we plant the seeds, and then we transfer them, prepare them, and that in the future we are going to be harvesting the plants. And the plan, unless anything has changed, is to send it right onto our cafeteria. So all the excitement that the kids have been seeing about the plants, they'll get to eat taste the fruit of their labors. That's the phrase, taste the fruit of their labors. So,
Any questions?
yeah, because the last slide's just a little bit of a holder slide, because I mean, I could have filled probably 50 slides with student testimonials. They're so excited about it. Like this is why I like being a teacher. They're just so excited. Like I'll have the kindergartners and the second graders being like, the plants, oh my gosh. And it's like, it keeps you excited.
It does.
But yes, any other any questions?
I love this. We're teaching a whole lot more than STEAM here. We're teaching sustainability. We're teaching the benefits of growing our own food. We're teaching little kids chemistry. I didn't learn anything about pH till high school, man. I was like, and I probably still don't understand it. But this is wonderful. Would this situation, would hydroponics work in a greenhouse? So like if we had money to put some greenhouses up on some vacant properties that are close to our elementary buildings, would it work inside of a greenhouse?
It would depend on the facilities in the greenhouse, because this current hydroponics system needs electricity for a pump to pump the water. The water is held in a tank, and it goes up and kind of rains down. I've been joking with the kids, we now have a water feature in the classroom. And then as Sophia mentioned, we need a light to simulate the light of the outside. So you may not need the light for if it is in a greenhouse situation, but we probably need to go to a completely different source for the hydroponics because of the way it's set up. The plants surround the light, so in a greenhouse they wouldn't actually get the light. But there's lots of ways to have hydroponics, like as you saw in the video, the example drawing was just the plants floating in water rather than being on these columns. So that could definitely be something we could look into more research from.
I'm a huge proponent of urban farming, especially, we're an urban community, right? And how many of these kids have actually don't even know what it's like, right? I love this because there's nothing better than like that vine ripened tomato right off of the vine. I'm just saying, oh, I'm ready for summer. I'm ready for some tomatoes in my backyard. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Yes, I'm sorry. So I love the idea, and they're growing without pesticides.
Yeah.
And so that's like, I'm really excited about that. And I did have a question, but you kind of answered it. Is this going on in your classroom?
Yep. So my particular classroom is about the size of this room. It's in the Hilbert Outbuilding. And so I have it kind of in one corner of the classroom because the tubes actually don't take too much space. They're about yay big when they're folded in, and then probably yay big when they're taken out. And so they're in kind of a corner of the classroom because the light is so bright, and then we're able to open and close it for management, or I'll have the kids kind of stand in a certain area and peek in without blinding themselves. But yeah, it is in the room for my room. I'm not sure if where Miss Leadham has it. She also has it in her steam room.
No, it's across the hall in our media center.
Okay.
So they use it so students and staff can go in and use it in one of her space. So
Yeah, her steam lab's a little smaller than mine, but so yeah, the media center is a perfect place for it.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Sure.
Mr. Bailey?
So, depending on how far you'd like to scale up on this, the legislature, I think, looked at food services, and there's a component of their budget where they're to buy local. So along with that idea that I discussed before in terms of having funds circulate locally, however you can think how to use that.
I think that's a little above my current pay grade. I would love to be a part of more hydroponics plant systems, but I mean, yeah,
I can speak to that a little bit. We used our food service funds to purchase the 4 units that we have. We have 2 at Beach, 2 at Hilbert, and this whole concept was brought forward to first myself and Mr. Beltink by our current food service director, Angie Davis, and that's how we got started. We wanted to start kind of small and see how it went. And then this is something we will be exploring into the future based on the initial pilot of this at the elementary level. So we really appreciate both of our STEAM teachers being willing to pilot this. How it kind of went was Angie brought it to Mike and I's attention. We really liked the idea, and after meeting with the people from Fork Farms initially, we pulled our 2 principals into the discussion, and then in turn, we pulled our 2 STEAM teachers into the discussion. So I wanted to make sure that this project-based learning activity was shared with the board because it's something new to us, but it's taking place right now. And it's, from the onset, it was something that I really thought we should incorporate in our classes. And it's something I could see us definitely expanding to some other buildings and different grade levels as well.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? No, I think, Ms. Miller.
Is this on?
Push your button. There you go.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for exposing our children and scholars to this unique method. I think it will go far across the district, and it should be here for many years because the kids seem to be very excited, and I love the videos. I mean, it just exudes excitement. So I know if 2 or 3 were excited, all of them, just spread it across. So I like that. I love it. Just thumbs up to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.
All right, you're off the hot seat. All right. All right. Moving on, 2021 Capital Bond Project Update, Plant Moran, Real Point, and the Chrisman Company. I promise I won't be mean tonight. I might be mean tonight, actually.
Follow that.
Right,
Do you
you're
guys
not
have
doing
any-
anything cool.
Do you guys have any videos embedded in your presentation?
There's no sound.
Okay.
Are you growing any really cool plants and vegetables, Mia? Come on. Little kids telling you how great you are.
Start with the work update. Yeah. You can put our update up. So I got a handful of slides to share with the board tonight. And then we'll conclude with the work that is kind of outstanding, getting wrapped up on the 2021 bond right now. A couple months ago, we commissioned a professional photographer to come out and shoot some of the spaces that are in the completed area of the building. So we're going to look at a couple of
This is
those pictures right here.
Okay, very good.
My kids are jealous.
So the first one that's on the screen right here, this is the new Redford Union Esports Room in the secondary campus. You can go to the next slide, please.
Impressive.
It's the old choir room,
They
right?
might not leave.
Yeah, they may not leave. They want to stay there all night.
This is a view from warmer times of the year at the south side of the new
Look at
Main
that, the
Street
sun
addition,
was shining.
looking towards the north.
Very good.
You can go down a little bit, there you go.
Looking good.
This is just inside the doors of that Main Street addition, looking down the new corridor there. And on the right in the photo, you can see the new multipurpose room with the roll-up doors. And then all the way at the end of the corridor there, that is the new offices that are up along Curtis Street.
Nice upgrade.
This is a view from inside of the multipurpose room. You can see the multi-tiered ceiling going up to the exposed ceiling that's painted black there, and the lunch tables that are all set up in the space.
Beautiful.
And then through those 3 roll-up doors in the background, you get a good view out towards the new athletic complex.
It's like,
Thank you. So
like when we go
this
to
is
the,
a photo of your new gymnasium facility in the high school right after it was completed.
look how shiny the floor
They're
is.
nice and shiny.
No dunk
This is
basketball on
the
that floor.
entrance to Bob Atkins Field with the custom arch right there and the RU logo on it.
It's beautiful.
Caesar Palace.
Yep, and then the last photo that I got is from the visitor bleachers looking over towards the home bleachers with the new press box and looking out over the Panther and the new turf field.
Awesome.
Nice.
Any questions on the pictures before we review the work that's outstanding?
I'll just say, my kids who graduated years ago are jealous of this. I'm just there like, Mom, we didn't have anything cool like that. Yes, yeah, right. I need to get, yeah. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Good upgrade.
I've said this before, and I'm a little bit emotional about this. I've been on this board a long time, and to deliver this quality to our students, to go from my first board meeting when we were $5 million in deficit, to be able to deliver our students what they deserve, is why I'm still here.
Very
And
good.
I do get a little teary when I walk in the buildings because I'm really proud of this work.
Well, we are certainly happy to have been a part of that. So on the screen in front of you here, by building throughout the district, we do have a couple of, don't want to call them loose ends, but things we're just kind of tying up at the end of the project. So on the secondary campus across the street here, we do have a punch list that's outstanding. I don't have broken down by school how many punch list items, but I can tell you there's just under 100 punch list items throughout the district that need to be completed. And those items range anywhere from a piece of paint on the floor that needs to be cleaned up to touching up a door frame or something like that. It's all been documented and it's all been taken care of. At the secondary campus, however, the punch list is not going to be complete there until all the way out in June. And the last item that's going to be complete, there is some touch-ups that need to be made to the floor in the new gym. And all the student athletes are in there right now, and there's classes in there, so we're targeting after school gets out in June, we have the contractor coming back to make those repairs. So we're not interrupting the learning environment. There is a window in the junior high lunchroom that will be installed in April. It's currently in fabrication right now. We expect to have all the parts and pieces in right around the end of next month. So we'll have that complete. There are some additional wall decals in the junior high gymnasium that are going to be going on in March. Those were just recently fabricated, and the installer's next availability for those is right around the middle of March. So we'll get him out here as quick as we can. There is a marquee sign that is going to be installed on the junior high exterior. So we have the infrastructure run for this sign right now on the inside of the school. So the pipe coming from the electrical panel that's going to power it is in place. We don't have the sign yet. We're currently working with another sign manufacturer to get some additional pricing on it. We have one quote right now, and we want to make sure we're getting the best value for the district. So I don't have an install date on that, but we're moving to get that installed as quick as we can. It's not in place yet. And then final inspections and permit closeout for the secondary campus. We're looking at March of 2025. And what's really driving that is the fire alarm system and the modifications to the fire alarm in the campus across the street have not yet been completed. So those will be completed here in the next week or two. And then Johnson Controls, who is the district's programmer for that system, will be out on site at the end of February to do all of the updates to the program in there.
So who's doing the fire alarm system install and wiring?
So the fire alarm install and wiring is being done directly to the district under a contract that the district is holding with Easy Electric, is who is doing that work. And then the programming of that will be
Yep.
with
Right, 'cause
Johnson
it's very-
Controls.
my son is a fire alarm system, fire alarm tech, so.
Yeah.
And it's a very different job, though. And Easy is experienced in installing and wiring
Yes,
fire
ma'am, they're
alarm
union
systems?
electricians.
Right, okay.
So once that is all complete, we'll be able to walk through with the state fire marshal and the state building inspector and close out all the permits related to the project. Any questions on secondary campus?
One more. So we're gonna put a marquee sign on the building, right, at the junior high entrance. So what is gonna happen to our current marquee that sits on the corner here, that still says Redford Union High School? Is that gonna be taken down? Is it gonna be updated to say,
We have a new sign coming for that space, I believe, the week of February, like next week, actually.
okay.
It's supposed to come. We have a secondary campus sign that's going there.
I was like, I noticed it the other day, I was like, I should ask the question about that, because it's our secondary campus now.
Yes, so there's going to be a sign at that corner
Yeah.
point that now says secondary campus, and it has both addresses for both the junior high, which has a separate entrance and separate address, than right across the street here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the secondary campus?
She's just really tech challenged over there.
Moving over to the old schoolhouse down the road here, the punch list in that space will be complete in March. So here over the next couple weeks, that will be completed. We are still waiting on some final door hardware in that space that has not arrived yet. It's anticipated to be here before the end of February, and we were working to get it installed before the end of March. The ramp handrail, so if you've been over to the old schoolhouse lately, you'll notice that the ramp is in place, but the handrail for the ramp is not. And that is currently with the fabricator. All of the shop drawings and engineering on that has been completed and approved and signed off on. So as soon as we have a completion date from the fabricator on that, we will be able to update Superintendent Witt and the board on when that will be installed, but we are anticipating shortly. Striping of the parking lot and installing of parking bumpers was part of the scope there, and this is completely weather dependent right now. We are on the schedule right now with Nagel Paving for the second week in April to have that work completed. And then final inspections and permit closeout over there, we're targeting April of 2025 for that. We have to have all of the final handrail and door hardware in before the building officials will close out our permit. Any questions on the old schoolhouse?
Okay, I apologize, I'm new here. So I'm just curious, what will the old schoolhouse be used for?
It's going to be used as a meeting space by the district, meeting space hopefully by the community and community groups. And then that's one side is going to be set up as a meeting room space. The other side is going to be set up like a historical classroom space. And our hope is that not only students from our district will use that for local field trip experience, but also potentially other area districts once we have that up and going.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions at Old Schoolhouse or secondary campus? So you can tell by the screen, the majority of the work that's outstanding right now is at those two campuses right there. Moving across town a little bit over to Hilbert, Punch list will be complete there this month. We have a handful of items that'll be completed when the kids are out of school here. I think the 17th and 18th is the dates that there are no schools, so we'll have contractors in the building to complete the punch list there. And then we will be, again, with the fire alarm is in the same state at Hilbert as it is at secondary campus, and it's going to be programmed around the same time that Johnson Controls is out to do over here. So we'll be closing out all of our permits and have our final inspections in March of 2025. Okay, over at Keeler, there is one outstanding item over at Keeler. This is in the kitchen. There is a relief air unit that needs some final programming and completion of factory startup on it in there, but all the other scope work has been completed in there. We're actually targeting to have that work complete also over the time that the kids are out of school, and the manufacturer has been scheduled for that. And then Beach and McGowan are complete. We do not have outstanding items at Beach or McGowan. Any questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Your punch list already done for like the secondary campus? You look at the old schoolhouse, you did it in March. You still have work on it. Are you going to do punch lists for the other work?
That's when they're completed. So yeah, like after we get the final door hardware in there, we'll walk through and we'll punch out anything that's in there.
Parking lot?
Correct. Yep.
Make sure there's another punch list on.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
With that, I will turn it over.
Thanks, Joe. So we're transitioning a little bit into the bond budget. So if you recall, May of '21, the voters within Redford Union approved the bond that was able to do all this great work. To put it in perspective, a lot of this work is really done in just over 4 years. May 2025 is actually the 4-year mark. To give you an idea, that's $16.8 million a year, or about $1.4 million a month of work put in place. So again, you look at the phenomenal work result, and again, a lot of it's compliments to the board for making timely decisions. It's obviously, like anything, there's always going to be some things that are, to be punched out. And I think looking at the 112 list, I think you're down to 18 on some buildings, which is great progress. So the $66.7 million is the total bond budget. Right now, you've got costs allocated and commitments totaling over $64.5 million, which has an unallocated reserve amount of about $1.7 million. So oftentimes what happens is you invest those bond series over time, and so it sits in investment accounts. So the majority of that money is traditionally going to be your interest earnings, bond issuance costs, plus program contingency, unused allowances, et cetera. The final retainage for all the subcontractors and contractors are not released until the punch lists are signed off. So again, this isn't necessarily, to the second penny, but again, gives you a very good idea of, you take a look at the projects that were included in the PQ application, the dollar amounts, and obviously the work that you saw on the screen is just a smattering of it. If you go into a lot of these classrooms, the Learn Labs, the sciences, some of the site work has just been a great accomplishment to do $66.7 million in just over 4 years. So with that, I'll turn it back over to President Pride Moore and the board for any questions on budget.
Mrs. Martin,
Also considering.
turn your mic on.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Is this also relating to the baseball field that we're supposed to, I guess, the Miracle Field? I know it's not a Miracle Field itself, but is that, where's that at?
I believe it's bid pack 11. So that's part of the
Yeah,
commitment.
the Miracle Field's been completed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's complete.
Yep.
Okay.
Joe, we
And
gotta
so
get that
this
picture
money, so this money that's left, we don't have to spend it on nothing per se then.
We do have
So,
to spend it, don't we?
yeah, so question, so you have 60 months past the issuance date to spend 100%. You have complied with the Department of Treasury requirements of spending 85% in the first 3 years. But at the end of the day, you do have ultimately 60 months after that last issuance date, which was in 22?
Yeah, but the other component here is a portion of these funds was contributed through
Through ESSER,
the
through-
ESSER dollars,
Yeah.
actually through general fund dollars that were offset by ESSER dollars.
Correct.
So what?
So we've spent the bond
Spend 100% of
proceeds.
the bond, correct.
Okay.
There's also health and safety grant monies, minimal, but not like
And food service
food
fund
services. Yeah.
So-
dollars and everything else.
So what is this, the unallocated reserved amount, what is that?
So, I guess let me try to give a
Help.
explanation.
Because I don't know either.
Well, what it is, throughout the bond project, because of everything that was going on during that entire period, this total amount reflects the $59 million in bond proceeds. It represents the amount of, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it reflects the interest amount that was earned on that $59 million during that period of time. It also reflects, which was done by board action, the allocation of some general fund dollars that were offset by ESSER funds that were received during the period of these projects. And it also reflects food service dollars, fund dollars that were used. And at various times, there were specific items that said we were not only using bond funds for those items, but we were using, to the extent possible, food service funds as well. And so this 1.7, almost $1.8 million that's left is the unallocated reserve amount from all those various funds. So arguably, what's left right here is 1.8 million, roughly, of general fund dollars that this board agreed to allocate for the completion of projects associated with this bond. And that's what the 1.8 represents.
So he stated that we have to spend this money, so technically we don't have to spend this money.
We don't, but this was the dollar amount that I was trying to get to be able to have discussions with the board, because the biggest looming project that wasn't delivered
It's a baseball field.
was a baseball field for the baseball team. And I couldn't have a discussion with the board until we had this number. We previously laid out 3 different options and approaches for that baseball field that all had a different price tag associated with it. And now that we have this number, we'll be able to have a much more informed discussion about which of those paths to potentially take based on this $1.8 million. Also understanding that that $1.8 million could go back to the general fund. But yes, we're not in a position where we have to rush to spend money at this point relative to bond proceeds, because those bond proceeds have been expended.
Thank you.
And this is a little unique situation because of how this bond coincided with the district's receipt of ESSER dollars and everything else, but we were not unique at all in our use and allocation of those funds, given the fact that at the same time we received those funds and we're starting these bond projects, the cost of everything was escalating as well. Construction related, both materials and labor and all those things.
To the chair.
Mr. Osowski.
I have a question, not for Plant Man, for Chrisman. You said we have some finishing at the gym, floor finishing?
Yes, sir.
And
And
a
the
bunch of-
logos that are down there.
Okay. Did that have anything to do with the all-court floor finishing that we just paid for?
I believe that was in the existing gym.
Well, I'm just,
No, this is the new gym that we built for you.
Okay.
A portion, and specifically in the logo area and the center of the floor, a portion of the blue is bleeding through the yellow. So the installer has to come back and take the finish off to put the yellow down a little bit thicker to get rid of that.
I was just making sure it wasn't with this floor finishing on the check register, that's all. Thanks.
Were we talking about having a baseball field at beach? That's what we were talking about?
We've talked about either here or beach or partnering with the township at Claude Allison. 'Cause
Yeah, and we can
there's room
bring,
here.
we can bring all those, I mean, we will bring all those options back to
No,
the
it was
board
just a
for anybody that's new.
Thanks.
I mean, potentially, one location is right across the street from the high school, right here. But that's one option, and again, each of these options have different dollar amounts associated with them.
Okay, any further questions? Mr. Bailey?
You had mentioned, so we have this unallocated reserve amount, we have until how long to spend that?
Essentially, that $1.8 million in unallocated reserve, the only reason we have it is because the board allocated I think it was $6 million
That's a lot of money.
to be used towards projects with the understanding that that $6 million of general fund was offset by ESSER dollars that the district received following the pandemic.
So, Mr. Bellman, you said that the bonds spent,
But every dollar we receive in bond funds is spent. The only that's remaining are general fund dollars that we set aside for potential use. So we do not have any further obligation towards the bond at this point.
and this is general fund, correct?
Well, it got there from the general fund, but it was designated by this board to be used towards completion of projects associated with this bond.
So we'll just lay it out nice and clear. We have spent all of our bond allocated money. We, in theory, could put this $1.8 million back into the general fund to grow our fund balance and continue to be solvent as a district, or we can spend it. We have the choice. Okay. Nice and simply put in one sentence. Thank you. All right, you guys are done. You're off the hot seat. I didn't have to yell at you or anything tonight. I know, right? Yeah, that's, wait, we should clap for them.
That games room, how many kids go to the games room? How many kids can fit in the games room?
How many students does that
How many kids can fit in the games room?
computer room hold?
The gaming room?
In the esports room?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it's called, esports?
I think there's 18 stations around the room that have computers on them that are also used for computer classes during the day. So there's 18 stations around the room, and then each of those, there's 6 stations of gaming, and each of them has 2 seats in each one.
I'm just saying we need to like maybe go have some Super Smash Brother Smackdown in there or something, you know. Board versus administration, except for I'm really terrible at Super Smash Brothers, so. We can play Mario Party, I'm good at that. All right, moving on. Student representative communication, Ms. Jesuit.
Hi, everyone. So last Friday, February 7th, 6 of our seniors signed a letter of intent to play football on the college level. Also last Friday, 10 of our band members went to Wayne State University to the honors band to perform with other students from other schools. And 7 of our wrestlers were regional qualifiers and are moving on to compete this Saturday. National Honor Society is working on their big project, which is an extracurricular fair for the 8th and 9th grade. Our spring athletes are starting to condition for their upcoming season. And finally, Channel 4 came in, I believe, last Wednesday, to interview 2 of our students about vehicles donated by Pat Milliken and Bill Brownford. And
Yay. Thank you.
That is it.
So, Chair, I have a question, Ms. Bradmore.
Mrs. Johnson.
For the Black History Month, I think it was like an assembly or something that was supposed to happen, but we had a snow day. Does anyone know if it's being rescheduled? I would assume for the high school. Or just in. It was a junior high. It is being, do you know when that would be for?
It's the 28th. Let me make sure that that's actually like a school day.
It is, it's a Friday.
Okay.
So, it's the 28th. If that changes, I'll communicate back to Mr. Ray and he can shoot that out to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll send the time too.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. And I heard Mr. Bailey.
Yes, you had mentioned something about the National Honor Society. Can you state that again? What are they planning to do?
Yeah, so National Honor Society focuses on one big project every year, and this year we're having an extracurricular fair in Main Street for the 8th and 9th grade for just like extracurriculars that they can join when they come to the high school side.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
I was also asked about what type of vehicles they were. It is I believe 2024 Ford Raptor and a 2025 2024 Ford Mustang. It's really nice.
You're like stealing half the brag book.
I'm sorry, guys. Just jumping ahead.
Good job. All right.
That's okay. We can cut it out and you can just do it.
All right. She's going to miss us when she's gone. All right. Moving on. Superintendent's Communications. Mr. Witt.
The staff members of the month for February 2025.
So it's the guy who lost, right?
Keeler Administration. Miss Kim Crenshaw. That's a tough audience, wow. Beach Elementary School, we had Gino Gauci. Gossi. Hilbert Elementary School, Ryan Cassidy. Redford Union Junior High School, Laura Bowers. Redford Union High School, one of our new counselors, Thomas Kaprazak. Casper Zach.
Thomas. We'll call him Mr. K.
Right.
I had a high school teacher who was.
Keeler, ADT, and EDT. We have Kathy Heller.
Yay.
And McGowan School, we have Bridget McDonald, a teacher at the Veritas. I don't know if I've ever seen Bridget Lindsay for day treatment. She thought she heard Bridget and she thought she won something.
Well, I think you and Mike might need to figure out how,
So congratulations to all those staff members of the month for February 2025. Next up, we have the board brag book. Starting off at Beach Elementary, they unveiled most of the new playground. So the playground equipment is there. The playground space that's going down, similar to the space of the new playground area at Hilbert. Given the change in the weather and everything else and the cure time that surface needs, will be completed in the spring at some point for that new playground space. But the equipment is there, and as you can see, it is being utilized by students, and that's going to be a fully accessible playground space once it gets the rubberized play surface around that play area. Beach also launched the Watchdog Dads program with over 75 attendees at that event. It was the same night as our last board workshop. And kudos especially to Mr. Gary Mayhew, who is the parent ambassador for the Watchdog programs at Beach Elementary. Moving on to Hilbert Elementary, the Watchdog launch event took place the following night and more at Hilbert, and more than 45 families participated in that event, with 24 dads already signed up to volunteer for a day, and those days are already underway, so there's some pictures there. Excited to share with you that also at Hilbert Elementary, we launched a new program on a pilot basis. That's our Hilbert House System. And each student and staff member in 4th through 6th grade participated in that event, the initial event where those students are ultimately divided into 4 different houses as part of the house system. And there's lots of pictures there. Each of the students had the opportunity to spin the wheel. The wheel is what determines their placement in one of the houses, and there's tons of pictures there. It was an outstanding event. Kudos to not only Mrs. Birch, but her staff for putting that together. And actually, I had a longtime staff member come up to me during the event who not only thanked us for doing the house system and bringing that to Hilbert Elementary, but she said that it was the most fun that she's ever had on a school day in a long, long time. So kudos to, again, the Beach staff, the Hilbert staff for their excitement around that event. Their enthusiasm was unmatched that day. It was a really exciting time and a fun event to see. And the nice thing is, I think the launch event was just the start of the positive things we'll be able to see happen over there at Hilbert with the house system in place. Next up, Redford Union Junior High School. And this also overflows with the high school as well. Based on a student panel last year that was conducted, there was discussion about, talk about having a debate team. And now, in fact, 1 year later, we have a debate team that includes both junior high and high school students. And they will be participating in their first debate tournament this coming Saturday, weather permitting, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Wayne State University Law School, one of the best law schools in the nation. Famous alumni everywhere. So kudos to all the people involved with getting that debate program up and running.
That's awesome. I was on the debate team, so.
This next program also overlaps between our junior high school and high school, both at our secondary campus. And this is our new partnership with Sound Mind, Sound Body, which is an organization that's been around for quite a long time. And they are offering an after-school program for our student athletes that includes both tutoring and academic component, as well as opportunities for our students to learn about nutrition, health, and exercise. And there are both classroom components, as you'll see by the pictures that follow, as well as components that take place in the weight room. So that's a new after-school program that we partner with Sound Mind, Sound Body on. We shared the great results of our Vision to Learn program at the high school. And again, here at the junior high school, the students receive their glasses free of any cost to our students. And I think in addition to the pictures that follow where you can see the excitement of the students as they get their glasses, I would say that, again, and we touched on this in the previous presentation as well about the high school students, but for some of these students who either had an out-of-date prescription or no glasses at all, this was a life-changing experience. Some of their vision was so poor that they could not read a book in front of them clearly. And now, because of this great program, they have that opportunity. Redford Union High School, we're very happy to announce that they earned the College Board's Female Diversity Award recently. And that's because of the female participation within our AP Computer Science Principles class. The majority of enrollment in that class is actually represented by females.
Yes.
And also, those same students for that class exceeded the national average for the number of females ultimately taking the AP Computer Science Principles exam.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all of those involved, not only the female students who participate in the program, but obviously their teachers as well, and the everyone involved in helping bring that curriculum offering to our students. I think as we kind of building off our earlier presentation, as we continue to do great things STEAM-wise in our elementary schools, I think you'll continue to see young ladies and young men who want to participate in those types of programs as they move throughout Redford Union schools. Also, kudos to the high school. Pat Milliken Ford and Bill Brown Ford. Here's the pictures there of the new Mustang, donated by Pat Milliken Ford. And then there's a picture there also of the 2024 Raptor that was donated by Bill Brown Ford. And there's some pictures that follow there from that event. Also, there's photos there from the high school of National Signing Day. And again, 6 Redford Union High School student athletes signed their letter of intent. And we actually know we have some additional student athletes who will have a similar decision to make later in the year. So there is a second signing day planned for April. And then even more importantly, for those who aren't student athletes, we still want to recognize their decision day as well. So on May 2nd, there will be a school-wide decision day assembly for all seniors who are attending a college or trade school career pathway program. So there's photos there of that event. Moving on from the high school to our Veritas Alternative Education Program, they wanted to be sure to recognize Junior Hannon, a senior in the Veritas program, an excellent student, very artistic talent, as you will see on the pages that follow, and they wanted to recognize his accomplishment and acceptance to the College for Creative Studies in Detroit.
Wow.
A very prestigious school.
Hard to get into.
Very hard to get into. And so congratulations to Junior Hannon on his acceptance to that program. And that will end our board brag book for February 2025. Kudos to all those staff members, students, and everyone else, our business partners who were recognized this month. That board brag book will be posted online, as will this calendar of events that covers the period from February 11th through April 14th. And one of those dates coming up real quick is on the 17th and 18th. We do have our midwinter break scheduled, and just wanted to highlight that. And again, this calendar with the different events for each building will be posted online.
Mr. Bailey?
This signing day, is that just for football?
The signing day is for student athletes who earn a scholarship offer at any collegiate level. And this is the first of 2 signing days we're going to have.
Sports.
We're also going to have a signing day for additional student athletes in April, but the student athletes who were afforded those opportunities by those institutions to meet this February deadline were all football players. But no, the signing day event in general is not exclusively for football players.
What I'm asking is typically, is it just football? Do we have other sports that these people are getting scholarships?
I know we have student athletes in other sports who have been offered scholarships and other sports, both male and female. Some of those has actually been highlighted in previous brag book presentations.
What other sports are there?
We
I only
have,
remember football, I'm sorry.
we have boys basketball that players have received scholarships in. We had 2 young ladies who, 2 or 3 young ladies who almost as soon as we launched our women's flag football team, our girls flag football team, that received scholarship offers, I think after 1 or 2 contests. And so we've had other student athletes receive offers in track. We have 1 young man
Cross country.
right now who is pending an offer in track. And that season's still upcoming. So we have players in multiple sports that have earned scholarship offers.
Outstanding, thank you.
I have a question about the upcoming day. I know signing day is traditionally sports. Would we consider our musicians who receive scholarships to include them in that signing day? Okay.
May 2nd,
Yeah, no, in April, because, I mean, like, you know, that does happen. And I think sometimes we forget about our performing arts. That's just but that's the band mom in me. That's my band mom heart, sorry. All right. Are there any further questions regarding the brag book or the calendar of events?
Yes, question. How many students received glasses at the junior high?
230 off the top of my head. We only have like, out of they screened 450 odd kids, and it was, we were
More than half.
around half.
About half.
Wow.
And it was well over 200 at the high school as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That included students who already had glasses, they got an updated prescription as well.
Right.
So parents were very thankful that they got that out there.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
'Cause kids
We
are hard
were
on
the
glasses.
company to work, or a nonprofit to work for us, so I highly recommend, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Communications received by the board secretary.
I'm going to wait because it looks like it's going to be covered with superintendent comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Chief Financial Officer's Communications, Mr. Belchink.
Just have one issue to cover today, and it is regarding a potential settlement on a workers' comp settlement that we've been working with our outside counsel and our workers' comp company, ASU Group. It dates back to 2017, and has recently, and it got pushed back for numerous reasons, including COVID, but they've been going through settlements the last 2 to 3 years. We would ask the board, I assume you've all read the memo, we'd ask the board that you would consider this settlement. We think it's a good deal for the district to put this behind us, and is pretty much in the middle of the expected settlement rate that the outside attorney gave us. Additionally, there were some claims on the plaintiff by Mesa Mesa has agreed to waive most of those costs down, which made the settlement much more palatable for ourselves as well. So it actually allowed us to keep our settlement down as well, so. Were there any questions on the memo?
I actually think that we should reserve questions for when we come to board discussion as an agenda item so that we're following protocol.
Sure, okay. That's all I had for today.
Will it go in closed session since it's kind of?
It will not.
Okay.
I asked about that, and it will not. I made sure we were good, good on that. Okay, where am I? Oh, Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations Communications, Mrs. Nachman.
I have nothing this evening.
Yes, you get a gold star.
You're welcome.
Our Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology Communications, Mrs. Crenshaw.
Well, I didn't feel like you guys heard enough from me last month, so I thought I'd bring another presentation tonight.
Yay!
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I have nothing. I have nothing to update, but we're having a great time at Redford Union Schools lately.
You get a gold star. Okay. This is our newest agenda item, future workshop topics. As you can see, we have several that are coming up. I don't know if there's any questions regarding this, if there's something somebody wants to throw out there under other topics so that we can kind of start to think about that.
Question, so I do know Dean had some suggestions about possible, what's those, ETC, the special, the certified programs. She wanted to bring up, possibly have a discussion about those.
Around,
Yeah,
like
the
our
career
early-
tech ed. Yeah.
career tech.
CTE, okay.
CTE.
I'll note that.
Yes, Mr. Bailey.
For this Tech Town experience,
Teach Town.
I'm sorry, is this part of my request to observe the material?
Yes. I heard what your request, Mrs. Dillard heard your request, and so she's working to set something up for the March meeting for the Teach Town experience.
So part of this request, after thinking about it, so when I went to school, we had a classroom where the slow readers went, and then there was on the other end of the spectrum were the fast readers, or people that picked it up easily. Is that how these groups are split up? There's two classes, if I remember correctly, right?
No.
No. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 13 classes across our district for CIASD students. So there's 2 different populations that this group services and serves well. It's our kids who have cognitive impairment and our kids who are in our ASD programs. There's 13 classes across our district. Kindergarten to 12th grade that this platform is going to service and is servicing. We don't base it on low and high readers, right? We base it on the fact that they need a different curriculum and a different learning platform. Teach Town is geared for kids who have a lower cognitive ability range, and it focuses on those levels.
So if I go into one class, it would be out of the 13, 1/13 of the classes I go into it, it'll be the same range of kids as if I go into this class.
No, by grade level. It's by grade level. So example, at each elementary, we have our ASD program, so there's 3 classrooms there. So one is kindergarten through 2nd-ish, one is 3rd through, well, kindergarten through 1st.
1, 2, 4, then 4 next.
So it's grade level, right? It's not ability level. Your ability level, that's a disservice to our kids. We don't do that.
So if we go this experience,
With all due respect, this item wasn't included on here as potentially like another presentation impromptu this evening. This was just simply put on here to let you know that Last meeting, you asked, and you made a request, and I think other board members also shared the thought that they wanted to learn even more about Teach Town by seeing it in a little more depth. And this item being included on here was simply intended really to acknowledge that I heard you,
Our request is.
we heard you, and your request is going to move forward. I think some of the questions you have are probably best reserved when we have that group back here in March to present at the workshop.
Thank you, Mr. Witt. So, part of this was to ask, I would like to see this in action, who the kids are that are actually receiving this.
You don't.
So, as part of this,
No.
right now, as part of this presentation that's being talked about, is it possible to have that with this presentation?
So they're doing a live demonstration. It's about 20 to 30 minutes that they're preparing for. They're going to break down, they're going to take a live, they're going to take through a whole, like lesson, right? Break it down, the kids see what teachers see. They're going to look at different levels of our learners. But you're not going to see students on a platform. You're going to see the platform itself, and you're going to walk through a demonstration of how it works.
Right.
And there's going to be,
And that's all we need to see.
the rep I work with at Teach Town, she's going to be here in person and answer questions like who does it like that.
So what I'd also like to do is ask, is it possible for me to actually see the presentation with the students?
She said no.
No,
And why is that?
because you don't need to be in our classroom watching our students learn. These are ASD classrooms and cognitively impaired classrooms, and unless you have someone in your life who is cognitively impaired or suffers from autism spectrum, they need structure. They need their structure to never change. I would not want a stranger in my grandson's ASD classroom, period. End of story. We do not need to be in those classrooms. We don't need to be in any of our classrooms. That is not our job as a board.
I mean, what is the issue?
you.
Moving on. All right, we're moving on to the consent agenda. I always forget to ask this. Are there any items that we would like removed from the consent agenda?
To the chair.
Mr. Osowski,
I'd like to remove C.
item C. So we have a motion to remove item C from the consent agenda. It then goes down to action items. That is the current motion. All right, so the current motion on the table is to remove item C. So the consent agenda is amended. Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion?
To the chair.
Mr. Bailey?
So in terms of the minutes of the January 28th meeting, how do you want to fit that in to this motion?
So currently, anything we would be approving would be item A, item B, item D, item E, item F, and item G. So we would approve the consent agenda with those items, not item C.
So within the minutes of January 28th,
Yeah.
how would it fit in when there's a question about what's in it?
Oh, you have a question regarding the minutes?
Yeah, correction.
Okay, so that's where discussion comes in. So
Is it part of, you got a motion though, is it part of that?
Okay, so the motion is currently to approve them. So now I will say, as amended, I will now say, is there any discussion? And you will say yes. And you'll and we'll look at them, and then we'll probably have to amend again. Or you want to do them as a separate item? Would you like that, Mr. Bailey, to also remove item B as a separate item so we can have discussion around those minutes?
That'd be fine.
Okay, so are you okay with that, Mr. Osowski?
Yes.
Okay, so we're amended to remove items B and C. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor to approve the consent agenda items as amended, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Don't let me forget. That's right. Help me, because you know I'll forget something. Okay. We are moving on to action items. Item A, special consideration, non-consent agenda action items. Number 1, 2025 capital bond project election campaign and owners representative support. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, that the Redford Union School Board of Education, at the recommendation of Jason Witt, Superintendent, and Mike Beltink, Chief Financial Officer, approve Plant Moran Real Point to provide election campaign support and owner's representative support for the 2025 capital bond project contingent upon voter approval, with the understanding that the steering committee for such project will include designated representatives from the Board of Education and district's community. Moved by Mr. Osowski, seconded by Mrs. Martin. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bailey?
At the previous meeting and the meeting before, it was raised by Ms. Martin about the possibilities of considering other companies.
Correct.
How did that turn out? And I think you mentioned something too.
Yeah. So I think that what's important to the discussion here is that part of our agreement and our contract with Plant Moran is that we have the right to terminate that. And so in order to move forward to get this on to get this passed in May, we probably need to move forward with them. But if at some point during that process we decide we don't want to continue to work with Plant Moran, we can terminate that contract with them. We can get another owner's rep. It does give us time to potentially hear from other companies that do this. So currently, the recommendation is Plant Moran. I have a feeling that if we were to reject this tonight, we would be putting the passing of this bond in jeopardy. That's.
So, Ms. Martin, are you satisfied with that? Didn't you request it?
So I did request it, and at the workshop meeting, it was suggested that basically what Ms. Pridemore just stated, that it would not be advantageous to just get people right now, to get get additional, to get more bids, I guess, or open it up to other agencies who can do this work. So like Pridemore stated, like, hey, look, at any point in time, we can change our mind. But the question is, if we did change our mind in mid-process, what would that process look like?
Okay, I guess I can speak like generally to this. This resolution, quite honestly, is in front of you because, as it's stated, this is the recommendation of myself and Mike Beltink to use Plant Moran Real Point in this capacity. So as I stated at the last meeting, I don't see any reason why our district would work with anyone else but Plant Moran in this process. However, the points that Ms. Pridemore makes are valid as well. A small portion of this recommendation is based on the fact that we do have a upcoming election in May, and we are taking steps to work both with Plant Moran. We work with them in the build-up to bringing information to this board, including their visits to our sites to help us assess the needs within those buildings, was a process conducted with Plant Moran. And Plant Moran's not only done that with us, Plant Moran has done that at districts around the state. But in addition to that, to speak to the other component here, is the process, if we wanted to revisit this, would be whatever the board wanted the process to look like and be. But there are very few people, especially within the state of Michigan, that do this type of owner's rep work directly with public school districts that have a track record anywhere close to being on par with Plant Moran Real Point. But I guarantee you, the agreement with Plant Moran Real Point, as it has through every step of the process, for their owner's representation does include an alternative for either party, quite honestly, to void the contract with reasonable notice. And I want to say it's probably within 30 days, notice would be all that would be required if there were a reason somewhere in the process to revisit this decision or to move on from Plant Moran Real Point in that capacity. That's all it would take.
And I think to maybe help understand, if we were to decide we wanted to hear from other owners' reps, we would put out a request for proposal. There would be, they would submit lengthy proposals about, what they've done in the past, where, who they are, how much it will cost us, all of those things, which is what we did way back when we first started this work. I think we saw 5 proposals. I will agree that I think Plant Moran was the only one that is Michigan-based. I mean, we saw some other wonderful companies that, like one out of Indiana, but they're in Indiana, right? And so I think we might have seen one from the west side of the state too. It's been a long time. I've slept since then. And ultimately, that committee, way back in the day, agreed that at that time Plant Moran was the best choice for us. For myself, I feel like a lot of my concerns, I aired them in that meeting, and a lot of my concerns, I don't think we can lay, my issues that I've had with the bond, I don't think we can lay that at their feet. I think that lays at our feet, and that the relationship was flawed on the board side in not insisting a little more on like board representation and things like that. And I think that could solve at least my multitude of my concerns about whether or not we were to move forward with them.
Thank you, because I just wanted to state, that I was not per se like the only person that had some, that was questionable about, our owners were up. And so I just wanted to state that, and, so that's one of the reasons why I was like probing, trying to get information.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Bailey.
So, I have no difficulties with you folks. This is more, I see, a board governance thing. The request was made for more information and what else exists out there. To me, it looks more of a due diligence thing. We're here for a particular reason. And I don't know if we're up to it when we're managed, whether it's into timelines that we gotta get it done, and we're given names that we have to go with, versus what do other people have to offer. So it's nothing against you folks, but that's how we're approaching this continually.
I definitely hear you what you're saying, Mr. Bailey, and I do agree with that aspect. And so, like, let's say, for instance, if we said, you know what, we do want that time to put out the bid and see who else is out there, then at that point, it probably wouldn't make it to the ballot in May.
That's correct. I think we'd be cutting our noses off despite, like, we'd be really risking this. And the reality is this: if we do not pass this in May, the next election would be November, and the township will go after these mills. We will lose these mills. This work will not get done. Either the library will, or we will lose this. And while I don't like that feeling of back against the wall, and I expressed that, I think we need to just take a step back and do what's right for our kids. But ultimately, and I say this all the time, ultimately, every single person at this table needs to vote their conscience and their heart. And so that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. And I'm going to ask if there's any further discussion.
Chair.
Mr. Bailey.
So again, the idea is not to keep having this back against the wall.
Agreed, but that's...
This has got to change. The same thing was done with the security.
Okay, so then make that clear in your vote. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that now is not the time. Okay, I agree. I don't like things last minute, and I don't like the fact that if we had really wanted to hear somebody else, we don't have the time to do that. I've made that clear. But ultimately, we have a motion before us. We have a recommendation before us, and tonight we need to make a decision on this recommendation. And we need to continue to stress that we don't want to feel like our backs are against the wall going forward. I will say, I've been on this board a long time. I say this all the time. I think we say this at least once a year. Please don't put our backs against the wall on decisions, right? It's not the first time. It's probably not going to be the last time. But ultimately, we need to vote on this. And vote your conscience, Mr. Bailey. That's all I can say.
Just with regards to our quote-unquote backs being against the wall, I will again go back to what I said earlier. This recommendation is based in part upon our track record with Plant Moran, coupled with the fact, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to the board because it was representatives from Plant Moran who came here to this board and brought forward the information pertaining to the infrastructure within our buildings that needed to be considered as part of this bond. And I will say, it was not until last board workshop that anything was brought up relative to potential concerns or desires to hear from other companies that might be able to provide a service similar to the owner's representation provided by Plant Moran. So, I just wanted to get that out there. I understand that people have their own opinions relative to some things, but I want to lay out the facts. And the facts are that we repeatedly, over a period of time, months and months and months, had representatives from Plant Moran bringing back different bits of information and sharing it with this Board of Education. And it wasn't until the last workshop that anybody mentioned anything relative to somebody else potentially being considered for owner's representation. And that was after this board had made a determination to put this issue on the ballot for May, which I'm appreciative of, by the way, because it's what our buildings need and what our community needs. But I just want to avoid or kind of just speak a little bit to this statement about backs being up against a wall.
Thank you. And that is fair. That's a fair synopsis of what has transpired. I'm going to take this to a roll call. I am going to change up this vote, the order of this vote, and start with mine. And the chair will vote yes. Mr. Osowski? Yes. Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Again.
Yes or no?
Voting conscience.
Yeah, vote your conscience.
Stop, so no.
Okay. So the motion carries 5-1. Okay. Let me get this resolution in front of me 1 second. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, that the Redford Union Schools Board of Education, at the recommendation of Jason Witt, Superintendent, adopt the resolution calling for full permanent funding of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. That resolution was presented to us to read at our workshop. Moved by Ms. Miller. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Osowski. Is there any discussion?
To the chair.
Mr. Bailey?
Folks, I would recommend that you look at this and you support the idea. But at the same time, some of you may be having some trials and tribulations about this. Because at the February or March, March or April meeting, Ms. Pridemore said that politics has no place here. Politics by definition is who gets what, where, when, and how. This is politics. But what it does is it restricts our effectiveness of all the things that we could be doing by supporting whatever it is in terms of what our children are eating, safety for our children, whatever.
Okay, so.
By doing this, we can leverage our effectiveness, which we aren't doing now. So the thing is, if we vote for this, then from now on, we know that we're playing politics. We can't be a leaf in the wind.
Okay, so let me just back up and correct you. That's correct. Partisan politics have no place at this board table. We are non-partisan board members. However, something that is right for our kids, and when I say partisan politics, we should not come out in favor of a candidate, of an initiative by a candidate, a candidate's stance on something. We should not speak to that. We should not have anything to do with that. This is funding that is needed for our children. This is nonpartisan work. This is federal funding. We all know that it costs more money to educate a special education child or a child with disabilities than what our dollars pay for. And we're not fully funded. We're not fully funded at the state. We're not fully funded at the federal level. And this is a message to everyone, not one party or another, that we need to fix that in this country. It is not politics. It's what's right for our kids. Ms. Warren, yes.
A document was signed last school year as well.
Yep.
I think I only had the board secretary to sign it, but it came to the board for approval.
Yep.
And it was signed last year.
And this is something that ISDs are encouraging boards across the state to support, because the only way, and I know that there were recently quite a few representatives of Michigan school boards in Washington, D.C. last week at an advocacy institute, that they spoke to our legislators on the importance of this, that the National Advocacy Group speaks to this, the importance of this. We cannot continue to lose money educating these children. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. This is a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey? Yes. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Osowski?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. Whew. Okay. Number 3. MASB Board of Directors election. Okay, we need a motion before we can discuss. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, okay, we got Mr. Osowski moved, Mrs. Miller seconded.
Can you read it out?
Yep, can I get a motion that the Board of that the Board of Education vote for, insert candidate here, 3-year term to represent Region 8, Wayne County RESA school districts as an MASB Board of Directors. We currently have a motion from Mr. Osowski with support by Ms. Miller. I'll say we don't have a candidate name here yet that we are inclined to go with, but we can't have discussion until we have the motion. So, yeah, so I'll just say this is that same position that I ran for last year unsuccessfully. And I will also tell you that it was very clear when I ran for this position that we were not to use district resources, including our district emails, to seek those votes. And several of these candidates did that.
Yes, they did.
I am also not inclined personally to see another Oakland County representative. We already have one there. I have heard through my connections that Roderick Means from Westwood Community School District, who has served 28 years in his district, is passionate about our children and is a good candidate. So that's what I know. And I'm just inclined to not vote for somebody who couldn't follow a pretty simple rule, which was don't use your school board resources.
Just for the record, I also, when I saw Mr. Means' name on there as a candidate from Wayne County, I did reach out to my colleague, Stiles Simmons. Dr. Simmons speaks extremely highly of Mr. Means' service within Westwood Community School District, and he confirmed that he thinks, just sharing the information for what it's worth, that he would be an excellent candidate to be considered for this role within Region 8.
As does Dr. DeVita with Wayne Risa.
I'm putting out there, it's interesting that you said that, right, because I was actually thinking about Paul Coleman from Bloomfield and Ursula from Romulus. Those are the two people that I was thinking about.
Yeah. So I believe Paul sent email from his district emails. And and this is not to say anything about, negative about Oakland. Our current, so there are 2 seats that represent Region 8. The current seat holder, who is still in her term, is from Oakland County. She's actually from Lake Orion School District. I feel very strongly that it should be a Wayne County representative because I feel like our voice needs to be heard, right? Somebody needs to represent Wayne County. I don't know Ursula from Romulus. I do know a board member there.
No, I was just basing it off of her bio. When I read
yeah. She had a good. So where are we at? Or who do we want? Or do we want to just choose to not cast a vote? We have done that in the past.
I think we should vote. And I don't think we can pass votes. Can we pass votes? I'll talk to you about it. Yeah.
I mean, we can in the past when we didn't really know, we have just chosen to not pick a name. Yeah. I don't think that's probably the best decision to make, but.
And you know Roderick?
I know that he is very highly recommended.
For the position.
That's what I know.
I guess that's what I'm going with.
Okay, Mr. Osowski, are you okay with Roderick Means? Did you? Right, and listen, I didn't. It's because of my connections at Wayne County that I, knew this name. I know that the Romulus School Board has some dysfunctionality because I serve with the Romulus board member. Okay, so currently the motion is that we vote for Roderick Means. Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? Everybody's good? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Bailey? Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Osowski? Yes. The chair votes yes. Motion carries. Whew. Okay. workers' compensation claim settlement. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, at the recommendation of Jason Witt, Superintendent, Judy Nachman, Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations, and Mike Beltink, Chief Financial Officer, approve the outstanding workers' compensation claim for Rebecca Middleton per the settlement terms as presented?
I thought we was gonna have that discussion at our workshop. That's what you mentioned?
No, that, I said that we have to have the discussion, I wanted the discussion to be at the time of the vote.
Oh.
It's as opposed to when Mr. Beltink told us. So any questions that we have regarding this settlement need to happen now, but we have to have a motion before we can have discussion.
I do
on
have a
the-
question, because I don't, this is a question for Mr. Beltink. Do you know, is there an urgency on this matter being considered tonight? I honestly don't know.
It's like March 10th, I believe, is the date that they.
So there is.
It's 2017, 17,
Yeah, I would prefer to.
8 years.
Right, because the next
I
board
mean-
meeting is March 10th.
And I'm prepared to try to respond to whatever questions people have to the extent possible, but I wanted to just know, I didn't know how urgent it was, but I do know this settlement, this whole matter has been sitting out there for a long time.
He needs the money.
Okay, so we can't have discussion without a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Johnson.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bailey. Okay, now we can have discussion. So I will say I raised some questions via email to Mr. Witt and to Mrs. Nachman because I have been here long enough, and I do remember this particular staff member.
No knowledge of it.
My questions were around, was she who I thought she was? What did the hard cap mean? I wanted to make sure I understood that what the hard cap was. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Witt to explain that so that anybody who doesn't understand that.
Okay, essentially what this is, the hard cap is, essentially we're self-funded more or less for workers' compensation up to that amount.
$450,000.
So we as a district could be responsible for the first $450,000. And I can say, because I said this in my response to Mrs. Pridemore, when she asked, that is something that potentially we as a district could revisit. My best guess is that threshold and the decision to be self-funded up to that threshold was quite honestly a financial decision made by a previous administration at a time when our finances as a district were different than they are now. And I imagine in order to reduce the cost of the premiums we were paying for workers' compensation coverage at that time, it was decided that because of our financial situation, we should increase the amount of our risk in order to pay less because of some of the drastic things that were being undertaken at that time in the district to keep ourselves fiscally solvent.
So, is this one person?
It is.
Yes.
This one person has been
It's a claim from one individual that's been out of work since 2017.
So,
and we've been paying $440 a week too.
and they didn't want to come back to work?
The claim by the individual is they were unable to return to work. And quite honestly, part of the dispute between Mesa and that component of this settlement is there were points in time since 2017 where both probably the district and also Mesa from time to time believe potentially that the individual might be able to return to work, But again, that never materialized.
The other question that I raised to Mr. Witt was, is this an admission of guilt? Because I kind of have a problem with that, even given what I know about the situation. And the fact that this person has been turned down for disability twice by Social Security. But having said that, Mr. Witt did point out that if we were to go to court, it would cost us a lot more than $180,000 to litigate it. And this employee could be perceived as a victim and sympathized on, and it could cost us a whole lot more than $180,000. And so while I personally have a problem paying somebody off, given what I know, I'm just gonna say, several years ago, this employee's parents came to a board meeting and ripped this board to shreds and said that we were a horrible district, that we had treated their daughter horribly, that we were the reason that she could no longer work because of the way she was treated by this district. And that, without going into any further detail on that, I was deeply offended then. I'm still deeply offended by it, but I also know that sometimes we gotta just do what's right. What
isn't right?
Financially, yeah, probably. I really am struggling with this. I just.
You say, is it right?
I mean, $180,000 versus potentially millions.
But at the same time, I don't know the ins and outs of the situation.
No.
But
how much can we say, Mr. Ward?
But
How much can I say?
We should know if we're voting.
Well, I can
Mrs.
summarize.
Nachman.
I can summarize the nature of the claim.
okay.
The nature of the claim is that this person, this individual, essentially the nature of her claim is that she was subject to harassment in a hostile work environment that triggered mental health issues on her part to the extent that she then was no longer able to function in the life activity of working.
So she.
And that's the nature of the claim. I'm not here to judge the validity of the claim
Right.
or anything else because I was nowhere near the district at the time the claim arose.
We didn't even know Jason's name.
And if I can just add, the claim was not based on harassment from several people in the district or from the district. This claim was based on one person who was this person's direct supervisor.
And that person is no longer, that person is no longer a supervisor or an employee within our district.
And I'll say, I'm kind of a tough cookie. I personally have a problem with somebody who says they can't work anymore because they were so brutally treated. I mean, quit your job if you really hate it that badly, but that's just my personal opinion. Given that I know who that administrator was, I know she wasn't a very easy person to work for. It's not the first time that I've heard that.
Okay.
But she hasn't worked since.
She has not worked since. As a matter of fact, I believe her parents care for her because she's.
Yeah, it's our understanding that she's not only working here, that she's not working anywhere. And it was mentioned in the memo as well, she has retired from the district, or she has submitted a disability retirement with the state as well through their retirement system.
And that was approved, so she is officially retired on an early medical retirement.
Okay. There it is.
Okay.
To the chair.
Mr. Mr. Bailey and then Mrs. Johnson.
So my question is, how hard is it to have given us the information so that we had a better view of what was occurring here?
Did you ask for it?
Friend.
This information was provided in the memo that Mr. Belting sent to the Board of Education.
You sent background information on this being a mental issue and whatever?
No, those type of, okay, so Mr. Bailey, those type of details, I did not want Mr. Belting to put in writing. I asked him to provide a general overview, understanding that we were going to have an opportunity for the board to ask questions, and at this time.
So at this time, when something like this comes up, we're the governing board, I think we should have all the information. so that we
Mr.
can make a
Bailey,
full
when this came
decision.
up, this arose from a matter that's been pending since 2017, and I was not in the district at the time. And since that time, this matter has been pending and pending and pending, and there was no basis for me to bring this information back to the board until this settlement offer was reached.
Right, I see a motion here, therefore, to make a decision, what I'm requesting is that instead of it partially be given, where we get a picture of what's going on, that,
I've provided that picture tonight.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
So, I've got, wait a minute, I've
Oh,
got some
sorry.
questions on this.
Okay.
So, on this memo here, it says facilitation recommendation. Was this arbitration?
No?
And the MESA, what is that acronym for?
Mesa is the third-party administrator for the health insurance plan that's provided for some of our employees currently, but previously was the third-party administrator for the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans that are provided to, were provided to all of our employees.
Nothing to do with the state then, right?
No, nothing to do with the state.
And then
It's
that-
actually a third-party administrator that's affiliated with the Michigan Education Association.
So this $238,000, that is something that this Miss Middleton was being paid, so,
Benefits that she received, the cost of the benefits that she was receiving while she was out on leave.
I.e. health insurance.
and we only have to pay 30,000 towards that balance?
Mesa agreed the proposed terms of the settlement would be that Mesa would accept $30,000 in order to resolve their portion of their claim.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I thought it was state, which would make it even stranger. Oh, you said that she filed a lawsuit. When did she file? In 2017, she went out,
She filed a workers' compensation claim.
and that's what it was. Somewhere in here, I thought I read a lawsuit was filed. No? Filed a lawsuit against the district,
It does say file a lawsuit. I could see where we could be confused.
but no lawsuit was filed. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Johnson?
I think that through that discussion, I might have cleared up my question, but just to be sure. So basically, with the 440 per week, the 160, 680 has been given to her already, and the remainder is the 289. So the settlement from that 289 is the 180.
Yes.
Am I understanding
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But we are currently at risk to continue to pay up to the full 289.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah. All right. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin? Do you want me to come back to you?
No.
Your vote is no.
Yes. Well, my vote is no.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure. Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Osowski? All right, I'm going to do the right thing for the district and vote yes, even though. This motion passes 5-1. That was hard for me. Okay, there were items removed from the consent agenda. So, item B, waive the reading and approve the January 28, 2025 board workshop meetings of the Redford Union Board of Education as presented. I believe Mr. Bailey has a correction.
Yes. So on page 5, it says there were questions and answers. Trustee Bailey wants the district to contact the prosecutor's office to have them come to the board meeting and tell him firsthand what they're doing to deal with the attendance problem. Now, I've said at other meetings, and I said, I don't know, a couple times at least at the last meeting that this is the minutes for, that what I'm interested in is getting the people who are given the responsibility for dealing with chronic absenteeism, whether it's be the RESA individual, the truant officer, the prosecutor's office. And I didn't realize this either till I read this, that Kelly Rakowski is not an employee, she's a subcontractor?
No, she's an employee of the district.
So who's McKinney, Vento, and foster care?
That is one of the roles that Miss Rakowski holds within the district.
So what is McKinney, Vento?
McKinney Vento is a legislation that covers homeless children.
So legislation, she deals with it like by your name is Title IX.
Every district has to have a McKinney Vento homelessness liaison, and she is our district liaison for that.
Okay. So she would be.
McKinney Vento is
Okay,
not a person.
Mr. Bailey, we're not going into discussion about McKinney Vento. We are discussing these minutes and what you would like corrected.
So she wouldn't be included in that, but the people who are given the responsibility of dealing with chronic absenteeism, to hear what they're doing in order to help resolve the problem. As I mentioned, in order for us, me specifically, my associates, if they're interested, to get a better idea of what's actually occurring to deal with the problem.
Okay, so do you want the minutes amended or not?
Amended or not?
Do you want us to amend the current minutes that say that you want to contact the prosecutor's office and have them come to our board meeting? Do you want that changed to
Yes.
say all?
I want to reflect the fact,
You did say
what
that.
occurred.
Okay, so what would you like the minutes to reflect? That you would like all, help me how you want this worded. Without a lot of discussion around this.
So essentially, I think what you're asking, Mr. Bailey, if I heard you, is you wanted to say trustee Bailey wants the district to contact and then fill in the blank, this is where we'll need your help, instead of the prosecutor's office.
To invite the people that are responsible to deal with chronic absenteeism, whether it's by the legislature or
The people who are responsible for dealing with chronic absenteeism, I think that's what needs to fill in the blank.
Okay.
examples being RESA, being truant officer, being prosecutor's office, and whoever
Okay,
else
but that's not what you
included.
said in January, so you didn't go into that much detail in January. We can't add words to minutes for something that happened. You.
Actually, it is.
Okay,
Let's revisit the video and see.
okay. To invite the people who are responsible for dealing with chronic absenteeism. Is that satisfied, your request, what you said, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, and I gave the examples. If you don't want the examples, that's fine.
Okay. So there is a motion on the table. It is moved by Mr. Bailey to amend the January 28th board meeting minutes to change the words on page 5 to Trustee Bailey wants the district to invite the people who are responsible for dealing with chronic absenteeism to a board meeting and tell him firsthand what they are doing to deal with the attendance problem. That is the current motion. Is there support?
I just want to be clear, the motion is for the minutes to reflect that that's what was requested.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, correct. There is no support, so motion fails. Which means we would then go back to the original minutes, and we would need to approve the minutes as presented. So I need a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Osowski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. I believe because it was removed from consent agenda, it requires a roll call vote. Roll call vote, this requires a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
No?
Mrs. Johnson? I'm sorry. So we're back to the original minutes.
Yeah. Oh, my brain's a little.
Yep, that's okay. And we're good with the original minutes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I know, right? Because when you go back and forth, it gets crazy. Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller is a yes. Mr. Osowski?
Getting later and later.
Yes. Oh, wait, that's me. The chair votes yes, so the motion carries that the minutes are approved as presented. Okay, the second item that was removed from the consent agenda was item C. Let me go back to it. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the total payment of $1,240,502.61 for checks dated 1/1/2025 to 1/31/25. Moved by Miss Miller. Is there support? Can't have discussion without support. Seconded by Mr. Osowski. Is there any discussion?
To the chair.
Mr. Osowski.
I have a question regarding the check register. I'm noticing a lot of general fund amounts that are for other items. Going through the second month in a row. Trying to find out some clarification on this. Oh, they're on every page. Looking at it roughly, just for athletics alone, it's $15,000 last month in funds. That I'm not sure if it should be in general funds or it should be in athletics. Because I don't know what the difference between general fund dollars and athletic funds.
The athletic fund that you see would be the athletic student activity fund. So that's the fundraising portion of it. If it's the A, that's that portion, looking at the accounts. If it's general fund athletics, that would be function code 293. And the general rule there is any school uniforms, long-term equipment, shoulder pads, helmets, footballs, basketballs, that's going to be school equipment. Anything that the students will keep would be paid for through the athletic funds.
Tournaments, what's that classified under?
That would be under 293. Those tournaments, those are things that the school would pay for, the wrestling matches, the cross-country meets, the track and field stuff, yeah.
Athletic training.
293. That the school would pay for her.
Okay. $3,000 for autographed basketballs and footballs.
I would have to look into that and get back to you with that.
Okay, I'm just.
No, that's fine.
It's every
That's fine.
month, it just seems
Yep.
like we're paying a lot out of this general fund, and I'm not sure where athletics falls or general funds. We've
Yes.
never gone over too much.
Well, so the 293 account would be under the general fund. That's general fund, but 293 is the athletic, that's how we capture those costs.
But we just use G in it, correct?
It's a G, yes, but within the accounting code, like if you look at the accounting code to the right of the G, it'll be 11-293. That 293 is what tells me it's the athletic fund. Whereas the A, if you look to the right of it, anything that starts with a 62 is going to be a student activity fund. Those are the fundraising, that's the fundraising accounts that the students would use for their own use.
So, for example, on page 2.